Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Karthee Madasamy. Karthee, welcome on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Great to have you here. Let's start with the big question. Who is Karthee?
Well, Karthee is a middle-class kid from South India. Pretty not so middle class, I would say, transformed to maybe upper middle class, primarily because of technology, of science and technology. So I owe a lot of our family's migration or transformation to science and technology. And then no wonder my career is also tied to that. All my career has been either working on or investing in disruptive transformational technologies. And I'm always very passionate about how technologies can fundamentally uplift the lives of people. That's essentially me. Yeah.
I love the way you put it, middle class to not so middle class and giving credit to science and tech. We are all, we have benefited from it. Of course, the education helped along the way and allowed us to thrive, come into this country that we now call home. So tell us a little bit about MFV Partners. What do you do? What's your mission? And I'd love to hear a little more about the reach and the impact you've been able to create through it.
Yeah, so MFV is a venture capital fund, early stage venture capital fund, investing in what we call as deep tech startups.
Mm-hmm.
So deep tech companies are companies that have some fundamental new technology that would transform a specific industry or that would transform some of the work that we would do. And this goes back to my personal story about how technology transforms fundamentally people's lives. And so our fund's focus is on backing entrepreneurs, passionate entrepreneurs that use technology to transform different industries. Impact-wise, the investments that we have made have caused fundamental changes in industries like manufacturing, work, robotics, automation, automotive, transportation, electrification, and all those things. So, yeah.
Very wide, very far-reaching.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, why do this? Right? I mean, this is when you're working as a VC or have a venture firm, you're at least one, maybe two steps away from the action. So what made you choose this instead of continuing to be hands-on?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and that's one of the part that I contended with quite a bit early in my venture career. I was an operating guy before that, before going into becoming a venture capitalist, and so I tried to do as much of operating and entrepreneurial things within my VC career. So I started the office in India. I joined Qualcomm Ventures in San Diego. I started the office in India. I started the office in Israel, brought those things up to scale. And then now I'm actually an entrepreneur building a new firm, creating the firm, creating the success of the firm, and building the team up. So it gives me enough operational interest from my job. So, but it was a hard decision. I don't think I came into venture capital, with all the enthusiasm. It was a hard decision. I probably labored about that for a long time because my other choice was either to do product management for a company or join venture capital. But yeah, you got the sense of the thing. Yes, it was a big question, which I contended with. I think now I'm in peace with it because I get enough of the operational stuff in what I'm doing.
Well, this way, sometimes maybe you get to eat the cake and have it too.
Yeah, I guess, right.
So as an operator, I'm curious to know, what's the biggest challenge, the one big challenge you're facing?
Currently?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, if you had to say what the challenge I'm facing is that like we work on two sides. One side is entrepreneurs, right? Like we work with entrepreneurs, we back entrepreneurs, we invest in entrepreneurs. The other side is limited partners, so who invest in us to deploy their capital, right? So I think the entrepreneurial side, we don't have any issues. I think people understand you have enough companies trying to do the unique things. There's no shortage of entrepreneurs, no shortage of people coming up with different ideas. There's no shortage. Every day we wake up talking to an entrepreneur just makes me excited because it's like they're working on interesting ideas. I wouldn't say what a challenge, but I think I would like more people that are investing in us understand the value of new technology, understand the value of deep tech, understand the value of these companies that fundamentally will transform and disrupt industries and people's lives. So yeah, so I would say, I think one of the mission would be to get more people who invest in funds like us, limited partners, understand and be excited about deep tech, not just for returns, but also for the huge impact that it would make in the world.
So true. I'd love for you to give us an example of, some deep tech that is maybe already made a change or is about to make a change and is at that inflection point, because you get into these way early before it becomes common sense or, a household name. And I'd love for you to give us one example of this.
Yeah, I mean, the one example that I would talk about is quantum computing, right? I think it has gotten a bunch of investor attention in the recent years, but I don't think it's still mainstream in terms of somebody would think of quantum computer as a way to envision anything. But what fundamentally all of the computers in the last, 100 plus years since it started are all what's called a digital computer, which means they can either stay on a 0 or a 1. That's the fundamentals of it, right? Like if you microprocessor, FPGAs, GPUs, VLIW architectures, any different types of computers we have seen, they all still fundamentally go back to that. It's a 1 or a 0. But what a quantum computer can do is 0 and a 1. So a bit can have both states. It fundamentally changes how you think about computing. So a lot of the problems, especially exponential problems today, have no solutions or will take like thousands and thousands of years, even a supercomputer to work on it. A quantum computer can solve it in like a few minutes, an hour, right? So that just fundamentally changes how you could simulate interactions of a drug, interactions of chemicals, any exponential problem, right? So I think in the next few years, I think we'll see more and more of these good quantum computers that can solve some of these problems. I think the change that we're going to see is a step function. It's not an incremental. It's not even like 5x, 10x. The change that you'll see is like 1000x, right? We're still not there. We're getting a lot of the steps going, but you could model lots of different interactions very, very easily. So that's one example that I would say, like what a quantum computer can do or what quantum computing can do over the next several years is actually really exciting. And exponential things are the ones that, as human beings, it's very hard for us to imagine. So this is a complex problem that has no solution can be solved by quantum computers, like very, very exciting.
I love that you get to experience and learn about these things way before it becomes, regular jargon, or even, a journalist can write about it. So love that part of your role. On the flip side of challenges come opportunities, right? And we talked about one in terms of quantum computing. What's one most exciting opportunity that you're targeting or working on?
For investment or for a sector?
Take your pick.
I think that one of the biggest areas that a lot of the entrepreneurs are excited, a lot of exciting things are happening is around climate. I lived through clean tech 1.0, so I go with my eyes wide open. It was a lot of hype, and then it all fell down. But I think today is very different, and I think the more interesting thing is, most of the new entrepreneurs actually want to work on climate solutions. So there's a bunch of activities happening there. So that's one of our focus areas as well. So I think the amount of new type of solutions in terms of generating new power, storing, reduce energy consumption, removing carbon from the air, coming up with different ways to solve some of these adaptation and resilience in terms of how human beings will live, with the climate change has been very exciting. I think if there's one exciting area that I would say would be that, it's like, which has a significant impact for this planet. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is exciting indeed. And I do agree with you that, this generation cares a lot about climate, about, the impact our decisions make on the global health. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, I would love for you to take a step back in time and tell us two experiences. One that blew your own expectations and became a huge success beyond your imagination, and the other one that did not work out and instead became a lesson.
Yeah, let's start with the lesson first.
Okay.
So I started my first company when I was like 26.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the time, most of my peers, most of us were still on visas, still on, still immigrants and
Yes.
visas. So I felt I had a great idea. There was actually we even got the first customer, but I was never able to get more people join the company because either they had visa issues, they couldn't join, or I couldn't get enough funding to go hire more people, or I didn't have enough of the persuasion capabilities to go hire people. And so it was just me working on it, and I was hoping that at some point we can get all these get the rest of the thing in order, but I never was able to. And then we had to basically shut down the company. And the biggest learning there was the role of team. The role of team. It's like at 26, you knew that you knew theoretically that you need a team, you need all those things, but then how you should fundamentally think about it. And then we had the opportunity in hand, we had the customer in hand, but we just could not deliver because I could not put together a team, or we didn't have either the money or the ability to bring a team together. So that was one of my biggest experience or failures / lessons, which has helped me in terms of figuring out my career from there onwards. It was always team first. It's like because if you want to build something significant, it has to be a team. It has to be a team of people. It has to be a team of folks. So that's I think since then. My every job, my journey here, it always has been, it's always been with a team who complement each other, who have the same values, who have the same kind of the drive. And so that would be what I say is that one of the early experiences, and I'm happy that I got that experience at 25, 26, that, you could have everything else in order, but if you didn't have the team, you won't be able to do it, right? So that would be a place where I would say a big learning or lesson, I would say. In terms of the success, I think the one thing that I pride myself is be able to live in the clouds, but still with the kind of the feet firmly on the ground, in the sense that I can come up with the grand visions of things, but also not necessarily just focus on be on the cloud, but also take definitive steps. So I think that the experience in Qualcomm Ventures would be a good example, where there was like start-stop efforts to do things in Israel. There were start-stop efforts to do things in India. I started both of the offices for Qualcomm Ventures in these geographies. In Israel, for example, I didn't speak the language. In India, it was very, very early at the time. You didn't see people actually pitching product ideas at the time. Most of them were pitching service ideas and whatnot. I think both geographies became powerhouses for Qualcomm Ventures. So we have today there's a large team, several tens of millions of dollars have been deployed, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars have been deployed, and it's two successful geographies for Qualcomm Ventures. And it's the vision of, hey, we need to have something investing in Israel, India, as a vision to go convince the management. But then not just that, but actually go implement that, have people invest in companies. I would say that was one of my, I feel good about that. It's you not just have a vision, but you actually go execute that vision, take all the baby steps, take all the hard grind to get that done. And then, I left Qualcomm Ventures now more than 5 years ago now, and these two geographies are like flourishing for Qualcomm Ventures. And every day I see that, every time I see that, it's something that I feel proud about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome. So thanks for sharing both the success and the lesson. That gives me a good opportunity to make a transition and segue into my favorite part of the show, which we call one-line life lessons.
Okay.
I'd love for you to share a few of your life lessons with us.
Yeah. So I think the first thing for me is do what you love and love what you do. So I never have worked on things where I didn't love it. And then because I only do what I love what I do. So I don't wake up saying, oh man, I gotta go to work. I've never felt that even one day in my life. So, and that's because of focusing on things that, I do what I love and I love what I do. So I think that would be the first one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you want me to just go through the 5? Yeah. Okay.
Please, I'm all ears.
The other one that I like, especially for an entrepreneur, is that early in your journey, motion is progress. Because it was, I knew this intuitively, but one of my business school professors told this very interesting thing, saying that if you're stuck in a mud, if your bicycle is stuck in a mud, you need just motion to get out of it, right? You don't need to say, hey, I need to move forward, so I only will move the pedal forward. No, you say, I'll wiggle it out, whatever it is, because first you want to get out, right? So early on, a lot of the times for building a company, building something from scratch is like that. So early in the journey, motion is progress. Later on, it's not, because you can just do random motion, but early in the journey, that it is really important, right? So that's second. The other thing, third one I'll say is that focus on good, high integrity people. The cost of actually working with anybody else is extremely, extremely high. So I think if there's one thing, like if you find anything that is not high integrity people, run, right? So, and then the third thing I would say is when it comes to decision making, I think we all need to make a bunch of decisions in our life. When it comes to decision making, always think long term. Sometimes it may not sound very prudent, it might not sound very economical, but always think long term in terms of decision making. So that's the that will be one I'll say. The last one I would say is that do enough introspection to understand what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and focus on where you are strong. I think it's important then to work on areas where you're strong, but address your weaknesses or disabilities, and forgive yourself if you're not making significant progress, because even a small progress is good enough. So that's one of my learnings, that focus on your strengths, but address your weaknesses, and then give yourself a lot of credit for making progress there, right? Because it is a weakness because we're all constituted in a certain way. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. We should address our weakness, but be considerate that we're never going to make that into a strength, but any progress is important. So those are some of the things that has been a lesson for me in terms of figuring who I am, or figuring how I work with other people, and then what I have seen, where people have succeeded, where people have fallen, and whatnot. So that would be some of the stuff I'll say. Yeah.
Love them. Thank you. And I think you said this really important thing about introspecting and understanding who I am, because that helps me decide what challenges do I want to take on? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? And if so, what domains, what are my strengths, my weaknesses, so I can bring on a team that can cater to my weaknesses, right? And I also love the one lesson you talked about, where in the early stages, motion is progress. Because I think the typical lesson that has been taught in the startup world is motion is not equal to progress. But it's very important to qualify it and say, in your early stages, just get out there and do something, because that'll take you to the right place where you can make those choices, whether you want to move or not, or make progress. So love that.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things that you watch as well when you're talking to a very, very early stage company. When they come back in 3 months and have not really progressed anything, have not done any movement, then you will know that, okay. And most of those companies ended up not really going anywhere. So anyway.
Yeah. And that's why it's really important to have the right kind of mentor, the right kind of venture partner, because it's not just a check, it's that strategic bond that you need to build to make sure that you're not one of those 95% that are not going to make it, but that 5% that will.
Yeah.
Karthee,
Exactly.
thank you so much for taking time to share your journey, your story with us, and your one-line life lessons. We really appreciate it. And good luck with MFV and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin. It was great talking to you, and then thanks for having me.